For having me today and for inviting me. It truly is my honor to be here to honor the men and women who stood up to defend and fight for our country's freedoms and liberties. You know, for the last week, I have spent a lot of time thinking about what I would say to you all today, because I wanted it to come from my heart, and I wanted you to know that I really meant it and felt it, and how do you portray and thank somebody for truly being that person who puts their lives in jeopardy to defend what is right. And I was sitting around the kitchen table last night with my kids and my husband after we'd gotten home from a ball game, and I was talking to them about what we were going to be doing today and coming here to visit with you and honor you for your service. And talking about that, and at the end of that conversation, some of the things that my kids had mentioned was, my son Booker said, well, tell them that you're proud of them. And so I'm proud of you. And also, one of the things that my daughters talked about, they said, you know, there's not a whole lot of people today in our country and in our world that we can really look up to. And so I want to personally thank you for being role models to our kids, not just to my kids, but to the kids of South Dakota, of people who stand with integrity, are willing to put in long hours of hard work, to go to far-reaching places in the world and defend American values and American freedoms and liberties, because there's many places in this world where other people don't have the opportunity to enjoy what we do in this country. And so I want to thank you for that, for being role models, for being people that are willing to do what is right. Thank you for believing so much in our country that you are willing to volunteer to defend it. And to all of the families that are here, I just want to thank you for selflessly sacrificing time with your family members. Many of the people here are sons and daughters of yours. They may be brothers and sisters or husbands and wives. And it was because of your support and your encouragement and you cheering them on back here at home that they were able to successfully complete their mission and to come home safely. This Aberdeen community has just wrapped their arms around you and support you and love you and welcome you back home. And I just want you to know that we do that as well. All of you volunteered to serve this country, knowing that you would potentially at some point be called to combat. Some of you even volunteered not when we were just even at one war overseas, but two. I admire your courage and your sense of duty and what you stand for. The sacrifices that you made will ensure that our children and our grandchildren will enjoy some of the same liberties and freedoms that we have. So I hope you look around you today and look at the people who love you, the people who support you, and the people who truly want to thank you from the bottoms of their hearts for what you have done. We are grateful for the mission that you've just completed. We're here to support you as you transition from combat theater back here at home and back to civilian life. I want you to know it's important that we take time to take care of those who have done this and sacrificed so much to protect us. God bless what you have done. You're not just heroes, you're now veterans, but you will be people that we will continuously look up to. So God bless America and welcome home.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Our next speaker, Ms. Katie Bachmeyer from the Senator.
The letter says, Dear friends, thank you for this opportunity to share some thoughts with you as we welcome home the 452nd Ordnance Company. I regret my schedule does not permit me to be with you in person, but I certainly join you in spirit. Today we celebrate the 452nd Ordnance Company and their service in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. As the father of a soldier who is also deployed to Afghanistan, I understand the feelings of pride, excitement, and relief many of you have felt as you welcomed your loved ones home. The brave service of the men and women of the 452nd has made us all safer, and their professionalism and dedication makes us proud. I am awed by the selfless sacrifice of all those that wear the uniform. We all know that deployments don't just impact our soldiers, and we would be remiss if we didn't also recognize the spouses and families of the 452nd Ordnance Company. They may not serve on the front lines, but their unconditional love and support for our soldiers is critical to our national defense. We thank them and also all the friends and community members who have come out today to show their support. Once again, welcome home and thank you for your heroic service to our country. Sincerely, Senator Tim Johnson.
Thank you, Ms. Bachmeyer. Our next speaker.
Good afternoon. Senator Thune asked that I share this letter with you. Dear friends, thank you for the invitation to join you today. During my time as a U.S. Senator over the past 6 years, I have attended several activation ceremonies and welcome home ceremonies for the Army Reserve. I regret that I cannot attend in person this time, but I appreciate the opportunity to address you in writing as you officially mark your return home once again from serving in the Middle East and Afghanistan. It is truly an honor to represent you in Washington, D.C. You have volunteered to put everything on the line to promote the interests of our nation. For that, I would like to take this opportunity to express to you the thankfulness of a grateful nation, and the thankfulness especially of the people of South Dakota. Your efforts overseas make it possible for those here at home to live peacefully and safely. You have fought abroad so that we do not have to fight here at home. We sincerely thank you for answering the call to duty. A special thank you must also be extended to the families of these military men and women gathered here today. It never ceases to amaze me how resilient our military families are. You bear the tremendous and often unspoken burdens as you send your loved ones off overseas. Without you, it would not be possible to have such a strong Army Reserve. Last but not least, I would like to commend your employers for their commitment and support of the men and women of the Army Reserve, and ultimately their commitment to the nation. Again, thank you for your service to our country. You humble me to serve you in Washington, and you represent the very finest our nation has to offer. May God bless you and protect you, and may He continue to bless this great country. Kindest regards, U.S. Senator John Aberdeen. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I know facing forward, you couldn't all see what was happening over here, but I'm sure you could hear the child who screamed and cried, and I just wanted to let you know what happened. Her mom had just told the child that I was the next speaker. So I appreciate the rest of you not screaming and crying and sticking around. Thank you very much for inviting me here today. It's been a year now, almost to the day, that I've been governor of South Dakota, and during the time I was lieutenant governor, and then now since I've been governor, there have been a number of National Guard ceremonies like this, but I believe this is the first time I've spoken to a group of Army reservists returning to home. And so I appreciate the chance to do that. You do have one thing in common with the National Guard soldiers with whom I've had contact, and that is between them and you both represent the epitome of what it means to be dedicated, extremely competent, and a reliable person in today's very complex world. And so, as Christy Noel mentioned, you're role models for so many of us, not just young people, but for adults as well. And I want to say thank you to all of you for your service and for what you do for America. Two things I guess I want to say. Both I want to start out by telling a little story. My two sisters and I grew up on a farm about probably 3 hours from here near Del Rapids in South Dakota. We milked cows when I was growing up. So every morning I would get up at 5 o'clock and go out and milk the cows with my dad. And every night after school I would do it again. And that started when I was very young. We had little chores. My sister and I would help Dad. But Dad did most of the work. He did the milking, and we got feed or helped get the cattle into the stanchions and get them back out and did that sort of thing. But then there was one day when Dad was working with the cattle, and one of the cows flipped Dad and broke his shoulder. And so he was really immobilized for about 2 months. And during that time, my sister and I had milk by ourselves. And gosh, we had done it hundreds of times. Hundreds of times we had gone out to work with Dad, but suddenly it was all on us. And we were a little bit anxious about that, and worried that we wouldn't be able to do it as well. And we did fine. The 2 months went by and Dad came back, and we were really glad. In some ways, it's like that for your families. When you leave your home, leave a spouse, some with children, leave other responsibilities at work, people carry on, but they're a little bit anxious because, as I said, you are a very dependable, reliable, competent person. And when you leave, that leaves a hole. And so I wanted to say a word of gratitude for those employers and family members who filled that hole as best they could. It wasn't as easy as it was for my sister and I, because we knew Dad was right over in the house. We could go ask him if we needed help. We knew he wasn't in danger, and that's not true in your situation. So I want to say thank you to all the families who filled the hole and carried on, and just remind all the soldiers to thank them too, because they helped you do your job by carrying your load at home. The other story goes back to fast forwards a few years. I'm no longer a little kid on the farm. I'm married now. Linda and I have 3 teenage kids. And as parents of teenagers who are driving, we worry about them when they leave home. And especially when they're in their high school years and they're driving and they're staying out for some kind of a high school event that lasts into the night, or they're going out after the game with some friends. We worry a little bit about that. And so the rule in our house was, we may go to bed before you get home. But when you get home, you let us know. Let us know you're home and safe. While we're in bed, we might be sleeping, but not soundly, because we think our kids are going to be fine, and we believe they will be, and we've cautioned them against this and against that. But there's always that little bit in our heads that worries, what if? And if ever the phone would ring before they came home, you know, our heart would go in our throats. So it was only when they came home and touched us on the shoulder and said, I'm home, Mom, or I'm home, Dad, then we rested easy. And in the same way, that's the way your families feel. Even more so, because you're not just driving a car around Del Rapids. You're in dangerous places, surrounded by friends in some places, but enemies in some of those same places. And so, having you home is great. And I know it's just like you were touching them on the shoulder in that bedroom, saying, I'm safe, I'm home. So, thank you for your service. Thank you to the families for carrying on while your soldiers were away. And thank you to the soldiers for your service. And we're glad you're home safe.